Mama said to find the girl for me. Wouldn't have to try so hard to say there's someone who can love the way you are. Honey, there's no need to try so hard. Mama says she's not just in my dreams. Someday I'll just find my meant to be. Someone who can love the way you are. Your happy ever after's not too far, yeah. Remember the days where we stayed up thinking if there's anybody think about me. If I ran across.
Guys, what's up? My name is Freddie and I am here with a very talented guest. He is a songwriter, he is a musician, he's a performer, and he even has his own album that he released last year called Mama Knows Best. So please help me welcome Angelo Munji. Alrighty, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And how are you doing today?
Doing good. You know, just glad to be here, and thank you again for having me and everything.
Thank you. Well, let's get this interview started with where are you from?
I was born and raised in Old Bridge, New Jersey.
New Jersey, wow, that's a long way from Vegas.
I know, right? Other side.
What brought you here?
It was actually my parents' choice to actually move out here. Just because like living out here wasn't as expensive, and they were sick and tired of like the winters over there and like the blizzards and the snow. They're like, no, we can't do that anymore. We're moving out to the west, so
right.
That's why we're here now.
And you have any siblings?
Yes, I have 5 other siblings.
5 other siblings.
Yes, I'm the oldest out of all of them.
Wow, already sounds good. And describe your childhood.
I would have to say that I had a pretty typical childhood. Was kind of like a kid that had way too much energy. I was outside, or wanted to be outside most of the time, just hang out with my friends, and yeah, I'd say it was a pretty typical childhood. Yeah.
Was your childhood mostly here in Vegas, or was it in New Jersey?
My childhood per se was mostly in New Jersey, and then I moved out here when I was 12.
What school did you go to out here?
Out here? When I came out here, I started 8th grade over at St. Francis de Sales. That was
wow.
That was where I had 1 year there, was done, and then went straight to high school.
To high school.
Yeah.
Where did you go to high school here?
High school, I went to Bishop Gorman.
How were your grades like in school?
Grade-wise, I'd say I was a pretty average student. Not because I was like bad at school or anything, but just because like I didn't have the motivation to really try. So like I could have been like a really great student per se, but I just didn't have really the motivation to really try, and like my mind was elsewhere and like focusing on music and everything, you know, so pretty average, I guess.
And probably like now as an adult, you look back and you could like, I wish I would have done better, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I was just like, I probably could have tried a little bit more,
right?
You know?
And what did you want to be when you grew up?
That was hard. Okay, growing up, the first thing that I wanted to be was a Power Ranger. Just because, you know, it's one of the things you're like, I want to be like a superhero kind of thing, you know?
Which episode, or which series of the
original Mighty Morphin Power
Mighty Morphin? Oh.
Yes. And, but then like reality started to kick in, and when I was growing up, I wanted to be, really just like music. That's all I was really thinking about. I wasn't really thinking about like real job, like, well, I can't really say like real jobs, but like those kind of jobs per se. I was always just like stuck on music. So I knew like as a kid, I've always wanted to do something with music. I just didn't know what yet, you know, because I like to play it and everything, but I didn't know like what opportunities there were when it came to like playing music, so.
And how old were you when you like realized that music was something that you want to like make a career out of?
I was really young. I don't know the exact age really, but I've always had a knack for playing music ever since I was young. It just came really easy to me. But I knew I wanted to make music a career when I witnessed my grandfather playing one of his own like original compositions that he was working on, and just like hearing him play through, I'm just like, I like want to do something like that. Like I just knew right then and there, I'm like, I have to do something like with music. Like I just knew for a fact that that's what I had to do.
That you had to do.
Yeah.
Like, was it like Did you start off with like playing an instrument or singing or?
Singing I actually didn't do till like later on. I actually started by playing instruments. The very first instrument I ever played was actually the flute.
The flute,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, in band, that was the first instrument I played was the flute.
You learned it in school or?
Yes, in school. That one.
Wow.
In school, yeah.
Nice. You still know how to play it, or did you kind of forget?
Vaguely. A little bit.
That's funny. And what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh, it's really hard. Growing up, I remember like before I would go to school, I would probably watch like Pokemon or Digimon before like going to school. That was like the one vivid thing I remember. But other than that, like the old school cartoons like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed and Eddie, Hey Arnold, like all that stuff from like that era. You know? So,
And what is one of the worst things you did as a child and that you remember the most?
okay. Alright, one thing that came to mind was there was this girl in my class, and I remember like I was IMing her on AOL Instant Messenger, and I was telling her that like I liked her and I wanted to ask her out, and she's like, "Oh, really?" I'm just like, "No, I was just kidding." Just like looking back at it now, I'm just like, "Wow, I really did that." Wow,
That was messed up.
really, it really was.
What did she say?
No, it was one of those things I was just like, it doesn't seem like much, but like thinking back on it now, I'm like, wow, that was really messed up of me to do. Like,
Yeah. How old were you when you had your first girlfriend?
oh, my first girlfriend?
Yeah.
I actually didn't have my first girlfriend until I think late into my freshman year of high school. Was like, oh wait, no, never mind. I did have a girlfriend before that. Yeah, so my first official girlfriend was actually in 8th grade. Yeah, that was my first official girlfriend. Yeah.
And what are some goals and dreams that you had back then?
Back then?
Yeah.
Back then, I just wanted to be rich and famous. That was like the thing. It's like, I want to be rich and famous. Just plain and simple.
Plain and
you know?
simple.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I did actually. So after high school, I actually went to UNLV, but I kind of like did not take it seriously. I didn't take college like after high school seriously at all, and it wasn't until afterwards that I went to UNLV, then
Yeah.
I went to CSN, and then lastly I went to Carrington College, where I actually graduated recently with my certificate for medical billing and coding.
Wow, nice. Age did you have your first job?
My first job too wasn't until after I was done with high school, and that was, I think my first job was when I was 17 or 18. So yeah, that was when actually my first job was right over here.
And what was one of the worst jobs you ever had?
I wouldn't say it was the worst, but my least favorite job was when I worked at Macy's. Solely for the fact that I had to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and be at work by like 4 or 5. Yeah, I was really early. Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, and I would be out of work by the time like the sun started going up. So it was nuts. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy hours.
I don't know how I did it, to be honest, but I got through it, obviously.
And moving to the present, describe yourself and who you are today.
Well, I've definitely matured as a person. As my overall personality, I feel like it's still the same. I'm very like easygoing. I'd like to consider myself like sincere, dependable kind of person, reasonable, but overall just chill. Still the same person, easygoing kind of guy. Yeah.
Are you proud of who you are today?
Not 100%. No, I'm not completely. As an individual and as a human being, I know that I do have certain flaws, some things that I still do need to work on in regards to myself. But overall, I'd say that I am content with who I am, but not 100%. Like, I still know that there's a lot more growing for me to do, and that's okay, So I'm content with who I am.
What is one thing that you need in your life to be perfect?
I'm not sure if I could really answer that. I don't think, well, I'm not really sure if like life can per se be perfect. We could just try and make it as close as possible, but really I feel like I have the majority of it. I have a great family, I have a great girlfriend, I have great friends, I have great job, I have working on music and everything. That's my passion, and really like I couldn't ask for anything more, so yeah, I'm really happy with that, and I feel like that's really close to perfect.
Now let's talk about your career as a singer, as a musician, as a writer, and as a performer. Describe yourself as an artist, and like, what's your genre?
It's always been like the hardest thing for me to answer is like, what specific genre are you? But I'd probably mainly place myself in pop. But like I have asked, because growing up I was a big fan of like listening to boy bands in the 90s and everything, so like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all those guys, and so like I got that in me. But I also like artists such as like Jason Mraz, I like Charlie Puth, Travis Scarlett, and Tyler Carter, all these guys, and like I incorporate all these influences some way, and even like other artists such as like Lauv or Laney. That group is phenomenal, and I just take bits and pieces that like influence me in a way and kind of like put it with my own to kind of make it kind of unique,
Are you like the type of artist where you like to dance and have a choreography for your song on stage, or are you more like a vocalist?
Can I say both?
Both?
Yeah, because I like having the live vibe where I have like a band or a group with me, like playing the music with me. But if a song just makes me or makes anybody else want to dance, then why not dance?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And how, when, and where did you decide that you were going to record an album and like write the songs? And
it wasn't really just one time per se. It was a gradual thing. As time was going on, I just had more and more ideas of, when I was writing songs, I would save them, hold on to them, and basically it just came down to the point where I had these list of songs. I just chose the songs that I wanted to record, and that's how it kind of came about.
How do you get inspired when you're writing a song?
Really, just sometimes it could come randomly. Sometimes it could be another song that motivates me. Sometimes it could be a show or a movie. Sometimes I could just think of the idea just out of just random, or it could be an experience based off an experience right around that. So really, there's like a lot of things that can like motivate me when it comes to writing a song or inspire me per se.
When was your first performance in front of like an audience, and how was that like?
Nerve-wracking. The first time I ever like performed and like where like I played guitar and I sang was my sophomore year. Oh no, that was like my big performance. I guess my very first one would be in 8th grade. I played at like the school's barbecue. That was like my very first one. Now that I think about it, like that kind of just popped into my head. So yeah, it was the 8th grade barbecue.
What songs did you sing?
It was actually covers. Just covers of like some bands that like I was fans of back in the day. And then after that gig, like I played in a friend's garage for his birthday. Like those were my first couple gigs. Like,
oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nice. Those are like great stories. Like, say when you become big, like, and you look back, like how you started. Like
right.
Those are
the stories.
Yeah. Let's talk about your album that came out last year, 2017. Mama Knows Best.
Yes.
How was it to release that album, and Like, what did you feel? What was your emotions or your thoughts?
It was like surreal. Like, it was just unbelievable, you know. Like, I had a really, really awesome crowd, and you know, the best friends and supporters. I've had some of like my best friends like performing as the other acts and everything too, you know. And overall, like, the night was just phenomenal. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better like album release show and everything, and it's just I think about it now and it's still like amazing to me.
Definitely. Why the title Mama Knows Best?
Well, the reason why it's called Mama Knows Best and why the main single of that album is Mama Knows Best is because growing up, I always told my mom that, hey, like, I'm gonna make it in music, and I'm gonna pay you back for everything you've done for us, you know, because she's done so much for us and she's such a strong woman. And so like I really wanted to pay homage to my mother and really just dedicate the album to her. Like, hey, like, this is like the first step in my career, and like it's only going forward from here. And so that's why I wanted to choose it as Mama Knows Best. So
What did she say, or how did she feel?
she was just super proud, you know. Like, she could really see that like all the work that I've been doing is paying off, and that I am actually doing something with music. Because, you know, when you tell your parents that, well, mine in particular, they were kind of iffy about that, you know, like, oh, you can't make a living off of that, you can't, that's not a stable job, you know. And it's just, you just got to show them that you know what you're doing, you know. So yeah,
I think like a lot of parents, like, from, and I could be wrong, or like, yeah, I could be wrong, like, by stereotyping, I guess, but like from a different culture, like mine's or yours, like our parents want us to be like a lawyer, or like
just like something super stable,
yeah,
great benefits.
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
doctor, lawyer, something like that. And like, it's understandable. Like, I could see why they would want us to. They just want like the best for us, you know. They just are looking out for us, and they just want to make sure that, you know, we go a route that is safe, you know. But I can't live my life playing it safe all the time, you know, being in my comfort zone the whole time. Like, I have to step out, I have to try.
Talk about all the songs in your album. Let's start off with Moment.
Alright, so Moment, the very first song of the album, I wanted it to kind of set the pace for the whole album. So when you listen to Moment, it's like, you know, kind of like upbeat, but it kind of just like sets you up for the whole entire album. And it's basically, Moment is about, you know, you're living in the moment now, you know, don't think about really like back then, but like you're growing up to be this person and you're living in this moment now. That's what Moment is about.
Awesome.
And it's actually one of the last songs I wrote for the album.
It's one of the last songs,
yeah.
and it's the first on the album.
Yeah.
Wow. Makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me is going back to my roots from YouTube. So back when I originally was doing singer-songwriter stuff, I had like this YouTube sound, and so this was kind of like paying my homage to all the YouTube artists that I watched growing up. So Age Raphael, Passion, Dave Bondoc, Jesse Barrera, Michael Carrion, all those guys. And this was kind of just like, you know, like paying my respect to them, like thank you for kind of showing me the way kind of thing. And it's, you know, just a cute love song about how, you know, you like this person but you don't know how to really say it to them. Like, you have all the things in your head but you can't seem to get those words out of your mouth. So it's kind of just like, well, in my head it makes sense to me, but I just can't seem to bring it out to really tell you.
Yeah. Wow. And Better Man.
Better Man, which is one of the favorites of a lot of people. It's basically just about like this guy who's friends with this girl who has a boyfriend who's a complete douchebag. And the guy's just like, listen, you don't have to go for me, but like you need to find yourself a better man. That's what the story is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's go with number 4, Good Old Days.
Like I mentioned before, this is pretty straightforward. This song is about just reminiscing about the good old days. You know, about hanging out with some of your old friends from back then, some of your fondest memories, and it's kind of just living in those moments again. Just the pleasure of just reminiscing.
With cut number 5, Mama Knows Best.
Mama Knows Best. This is a love song, but not in the traditional sense. It's actually like my song to my mother. Because, you know, growing up, they always had that saying like, oh, you know, mothers know best kind of thing. So I wrote the song kind of around that saying and kind of like taking a little like jab at my mom, because she's always like told me all this advice growing up and she's always been right. And so like it's another like dedication to her.
Dedication.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Awesome. Number 6, Live in Stereo.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this one is a very, very deep one that I hold in my heart. Originally, when I wrote this song, I based it off of the Netflix show 13 Reasons Why. However, shortly after I wrote the song, I had a coworker of mine pass away due to suicide. And so, hearing the song and performing it has been like completely transformed after that happened, because when I sing this song now, I envision myself singing it to her. And it's just like that song where it's like, you know, life is so different now without you here, and I wish that I would have taken the time to tell you how much you meant to me and everybody else while you were still here.
Was she like your best friend?
Just a close coworker. She was kind of like the mom of like the place that I worked at and everything, and like it was very unexpected because she was very happy, outgoing, and we didn't see it coming. You know, there were no signs. It just one day the news came to us and we were just heartbroken. You know, just in shock. You know, we didn't know how to take it. So that one is my dedication to her.
That's sweet. And number 7, Celebrity702.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you got it. So, fun fact, I'm actually a very, very big nerd. Celebrity702 is actually like a shout out to one of my favorite game series growing up. My absolute favorite game series is a game called Final Fantasy. Actually, my whole tattoo sleeve here is a Final Fantasy.
You want to show us?
Yeah, like this whole like entire like sleeve that I have is all Final Fantasy related. And it's kind of like...
You said that's a game?
Yes, it's a game. That, like I said, I'm a massive nerd. I love video games and everything too. And I just wanted to create like kind of like a score or like an instrumental thing that people can kind of just, when they listen to it, they feel at peace. And that's also one thing that I also want to do besides being like a solo artist, is I also want to make music for movies and video games also. And I wanted like this one in particular to kind of invoke a kind of peaceful, you know, thing when people listen to it. Like they vibe with it, they feel peaceful with it, and that's kind of like what I wanted to incorporate in the album as well. So it's like the black sheep out of everything, but it's actually one of my favorite tracks of the album.
You're like one of your favorites.
One of my favorites.
And what's your favorite? Like your number 1?
I think my overall favorite would have to be either One Night, or there's One Night, Better Man, and Mama Knows Best. I think those are like my top 3 of the album and everything in regards to like feel good and all
with
that. So,
One Night being your number 1.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't have a particular order of those 3.
About One Night, which is your 8th song in this album, and what is it about?
A lot of people really like that one. One Night it's not based off of experience or anything, but I actually created that scene in my head where there's this guy and he like sees this girl for the first time, and it's love at first sight, you know. And so like he like asks this girl to dance, and instead of like this guy's mindset of like, oh, I want to like, you know, make this a one night stand or hook up with this girl, he just wants to have fun with this girl, like create like a really awesome memory where they just have fun together, you know. And that's what the song One Night is. It's like, I want to like have fun on this night where we're just hanging out together and just laughing, like smiling, making memories, and just having fun. That's what One Night's all about.
And let's go with Tides, which is the 9th song in the album.
Tides is one of the first few songs that I wrote on the album, and it's actually about, again, another love song per se, but it's actually like a toxic relationship where this guy and this girl were together in the beginning, but midway in the song you find out that they actually break up. But somehow there's something about this girl that always brings him, back, So it's kind of like the tides where like it comes in and then it comes back out, comes into the shore, comes back out. It's like this relationship in the song where I know you're bad for me, but for some reason I still find myself coming back to you, kind of thing. So that's what Tides is about.
And last but not least, Alive, featuring your best friend, you said, right?
Yes.
Eddie Felix?
Eddie Felix, yes. So Alive, the very last song of the album, this is the song that I was talking about earlier where it's a song about vulnerability. It's about how people have this mindset that when you're vulnerable, you're weak, per se. But I kind of have this different perspective where sometimes when we're vulnerable, we feel the most out of it. That's why like you feel the most alive. Like say when you're about to ask a girl out or you're about to go into an interview, you're nervous, you're anxious, you're like vulnerable, But at the same time, that's also an indication that you're alive. It's an indication that you are feeling something and there's more to it than those negative feelings. So that's what Alive is about.
Alive is about.
Girl, I'm stuck on you, but you're someone I just can't lose. I don't know what else I can do. Girl, I'm stuck on you. Just walk away. I seem to tell myself again, and it's not okay. I fall for it, it's all the same. I found myself just tripping all the time with you. Just get myself to move and I find something new.
Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you,
Celebrity702.
Thank you for having me.
And if we want to follow you on social media, how can we do that?
All of my handles are pretty much the same. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all at Angelo Munji. So yeah, even my YouTube, Angelo Munji Music. Yeah, just Angelo Munji. Plain and simple, yeah. Facebook.com/Angelo Munji.
And you also have a website.
Yes, AngeloMunji.com is the main website. You can find all my updates and all the music and what's going on and everything right on there.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching Celebrity702. My name is Freddie. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter
Follow.
Celebrity702, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching.